Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Beer with the Boss. That's right, the podcast where a guy and his boss have a beer and talk about technology and whatever's trending out there. Before we start, please remember to subscribe to our channel, to like this episode, share with your friends, leave comments. Remember that your feedback is very important for us to keep making relevant content. I'm Rodrigo Matos, and I work at Webera.
And I'm Joe Zamboni, CEO at Webera and co-host of the show. And we are here today to share our thoughts from the front lines of a successful DevOps consulting business and have a beer with you. Cheers to another episode of Beer with the Boss. And what are you drinking, Rodrigo?
So today I'm drinking a Golden Baden-Baden. It's a Brazilian beer, and this one is a little bit different. It has cinnamon and berries. I was a little bit, like cinnamon and berries, but it
like in the beer.
In the beer, yeah. It's
beer.
A very hot day today, as we are in summer in Brazil. So I would not recommend for a very hot day. I guess it's a beer more for a cold winter day. But yeah, not bad. How about you, Joe? What are you drinking?
I'm back to the old ones. I'm drinking a good and old Guinness. So cheers.
Not bad. Yeah, that's the good one. If I had Guinness to buy here, I would definitely buy. Impossible to find Guinness in this country.
I will send a bottle.
Send a keg. A keg.
A keg. Okay.
A little bit harder to send a keg.
There's a Guinness factory here in Maryland, like 100 miles from here. Which is awesome. I went there a couple months ago. No, maybe more. But no, a lot more. But it was very good. Maybe you should record an episode from there.
That would be
and
a good
do
idea.
you have any breweries on your city?
Yes, there are many breweries here. We can definitely do that. Like have a exchanging brewery experience. Yeah. That will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Maybe we can go live.
Maybe they will pay for the beers as well.
So what do we are here today to talk about?
So Joel, I thought today we could talk a little bit about Scrum. We use Scrum at Webera, and this is very a lot of tech companies use Scrum as well. And we're here to kind of ask you questions about Scrum, and most of them are a little bit controversial because we like controversial questions as well in this podcast. Basically, what we want to know is if Scrum is really the holy grail of project management, or if it's just another overhyped trend. Scrum is a widely used agile framework that's been gaining popularity recently. While some folks swear by it, others aren't so sure. So today we will dive into the good and bad of Scrum and some of the controversies surrounding it. So I want to ask you a few questions, Joe. I know that you are someone who are very familiar with Scrum, and we are always trying to improve how we use Scrum at Webera. What do you think? Is Scrum just another buzzword in the tech industry, or does it truly deliver on its promises?
It does deliver, but it's very because it's too simple. It is the implementation of the Scrum in each company is very different. I was like, we have some tools and things that help, but even the tools they implement completely different. Like if you get Jira, an example, Jira has its own way to implement Scrum, which is different from the other tools, and each tool thinks a different way, and each tool, it's like ourselves, we give up on those tools and implement ourselves we try to be as close as possible to the Scrum framework, and because of that, we're not able to find any tool that at least does that. So we did our own thing on Notion. I think we talked about this last episode, but Scrum and the other, I started using agile methodologies in 2001, I think. And at the time, I thought that Scrum was too complex. So as a young person, I was like, why do you have to do all those things, like meetings? And I was like, no. At the time, I was using extreme programming. So we had a team of developers programming pairs. Was very different. But the concepts are the same or similar. I guess the balance is that Scrum can be used by small teams, and it has by itself doesn't have the scalability, but it's easy to scale, to connect multiple teams talking the same protocol. Like you can scale a company by using Scrum in several different teams, and they will have the same idea what each one of them will be using or be doing. So yes, it's not just a buzzword. It's very widely used. 100% of our clients use some form of Scrum. Yeah, it's not a buzzword, definitely.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, definitely not. I had the opportunity to work in other companies where we also used Scrum, and it's definitely something that you can adapt to your business and to what you want to achieve. I think it's very funny that you said when you were younger, you're a young guy, you thought, oh, why do we have to do all this? Working in the front, being like a project owner or a product owner or project management, we see these people still asking those questions. Like young people, young professionals who are starting out, they're also asking, do I have to attend to all these ceremonies? Is this really necessary to have a meeting every day? And it's understandable that you question that, but it could be so much worse. It could be so much worse. So you have like 15 minutes that you're there to ask for help or to just like say what you're doing, and if you have any blockers, and to brainstorm with your peers as well after that. It definitely delivers. And I guess our better what we're doing with Scrum is we're adapting it to fit what we want to achieve. And I'm truly leaving Scrum now, because in the past I realized after I joined Orbit, I realized that in the past it was just a little bit of Scrum. Because if you do like a daily meeting, that's not Scrum. That's my opinion, obviously. I'm not very experienced. But just having a daily meeting is not enough. You need to have more ceremonies. You have to use more of what Scrum has to offer, so you can say you're actually using Scrum for real in your organization. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's a very simple flow. Because of that, it's also people just say, "Oh, I have to do just that," so they start. "Oh, I know I have to do this and this," but they don't end up doing that simple thing which makes the exhausting, like which makes the process work.
Yeah.
I guess.
Because I see many organizations having daily meetings and saying they have Scrum or that they use Scrum. I guess it's more than just having a daily meeting. So my next question for you, is Scrum appropriate for all types of projects, big projects, small projects, or just like a certain type of project could take advantage of the framework?
Yes, and everything can be scrutinized. You have the ability, like, because Scrum is not, it doesn't define what you're going to do. It defines how you're going to do. And then it doesn't define why you're going to do. So it's just the middle thing. So it doesn't have the capability of making your idea a better idea, but it has the capability to help you to deliver your idea, which is completely different, right? You can have a bad idea and you not be Scrum not the good. And you can have a good idea and is not Scrum the good. So people have to understand this about project management tools and frameworks and all this, that they are not the beginning, neither the end. They just a process in the middle that helps your team to communicate. And because it's so wide usage, the benefit is that probably the person that you're going to hire already have knowledge of being working with Scrum somewhere in their career, which is different, an example from the old model of PMI, where people were most of the time just not participating in the process, but they were just passive of the project framework. And the Scrum, there are three basic roles. You have the product owner, which is the guy responsible for keep what people are working on or why the people are working on something. And the Scrum Master, which can be shared, is just like a facilitator of the whole framework. But the whole thing, and even if you go and see on the book, on the Scrum guide, not the book, the developers, which they call the people, the team, are they actually responsible for taking the framework to use the framework? So it changes the perspective where the team who is developing the product is not a passive actor on the project, just waiting for doing things, and actually be responsible for doing things, which is a much better way to work when you hire all those billions, trillions of neurons working for you in the project. And they are part of the solution, not just waiting for the next task that might be the wrong task if they don't have the ability to tell that it's the wrong task. So, yeah.
All right. And how about complex projects, Joel? Do you think that Scrum is effective at managing those complex projects, or it kind of oversimplify the process?
So, to manage complex projects, you have to split the work. You cannot do like one big project with just Scrum. You have to have other management tools. But like at Webera, like what we did, right? We are able to that's anyone in the company or whatever task they are working, they can connect that task to the mission of the company. So you have to create this drill down structure, the breakdown structure from whatever you think it's your biggest why, to structure the teams and the entire workflow to have this. It doesn't mean that you cannot use Scrum by yourself on that level. An example, one of the parts of the product backlog, your product backlog, in a way at Webera, our product backlog, it's our initiatives, which are items. They have the same flow as a normal story. It's just that they are bigger. They take months to resolve, and they rely on smaller and smaller blocks of work. So, all the status of like an initiative, it's needs grooming, ready to work, or ready to work, in progress, completed, or canceled, right? Even those bigger things have the same status as a story. The difference is that initiative can take a year or years sometimes. But like an example, one of the initiatives that we had was the new Webera.com, was a project, was an internal project. Took many sprints, took many epics, and many stories to be realized. But we follow the same process or the same basic structure. There are other, how can I say, ways. There's SAFe, that's a framework for enterprise and things like that people use to manage Scrum at scale. So, yeah, as long as you're able to break down, and you need to break down your project in smaller chunks so someone can work on a task. So at some point, someone has to build that thing, you have to go break down until someone can, so we can make a rocket, right? You have to go breaking the tasks. So, yeah, I think it's just, you have to learn how to break the task, but it definitely can be used for complex, for bigger, for smaller, for everything. I was trying to, when I was very deep in studying Scrum, I was reading about schools that are using Scrum as a teaching methodology. So kids they learn their stories on that week. So they have to fulfill learning based on Scrums.
That's awesome.
And I think has been adopted in Finland or some other Northern Europe country. I was like, that's a good idea. I was like, because they have the epics, which are steps to learn, little tweak the name, but it's a great idea, I think. So
at the end of the day, it's such a simple way to organize yourself, organize your work, or whatever has to be done to achieve that objective. But I kind of understand why people would say they oversimplify, but it doesn't really makes it easier to achieve that because you see exactly what you have to do, I guess. It's so interesting that high schools doing that. I had no idea about that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, you can search online. Yeah, but I actually was searching for some schools here in Northern Virginia. I think they had, but then I was like, I have too many things to get worried about.
Yeah.
Try to change my kids from another methodology.
And do you think that Scrum then actually increases productivity?
Yeah, so the first book one of the first books that I read was The Art of Doing Twice of the Work in Half of the Time by Jeff Sutherland, one of the co-creators of Scrum. Yeah, it increases productivity because you make everyone owner, and instead of like having just one cup, like a few guys on the top that define some, you still have to have those kind of, but the team below is much more, is able to improve their work, right? Like an example, one of the challenges when we talk about Scrum is like, people insist to cross stories with time. It's like, oh, you have to. I was like, no, guys. The only time measurement that we have in Scrum is the sprint. It's 2 weeks. What you gonna do in these 2 weeks? Oh, I can do this and this and this and this. Okay, good. What's the effort? How complex are these tasks? Okay, this task is like at the beginning. I think they use dog breeds or something like that. Mm-hmm. This is a Chihuahua. This is a something like this Scrum. We use Fibonacci. Okay, this is a 3 task point. This is 8 or a 13, whatever. Okay, good. So you think that the team thinks actually this task is a 3 task, whatever it is. Okay, so then in this space of time, these 2 weeks, how much you did? Oh, the team did I don't know, 50 points. Cool. Okay. What's the next sprint? So the team has the ability to measure how much work they can execute in that period of time. Because humans are very bad in predict how long they'll take to execute a task. The team can across like this. Let's go back. So humans are very bad in measure time. Like if you either are in 2 categories. If you say that you're going to do a task in that amount of time, if you can do faster, you're going to wait a little bit to achieve your time. Or if you're going to be slow, you're going to be late. And normally people are in the second category, right? They underestimate the amount of work that they're going to do. It doesn't mean that Scrum will not have the same issue. But the benefit of the Scrum is that people are learning with their work. An example. The idea of the Scrum is that to calculate the velocity, you get the average of the last 3 to 6 sprints, right? So you shouldn't have a sprint bigger than a month. And we normally don't recommend bigger than 2 weeks. A week we tried, and the problem with a week is hard to handle holidays. So because the holidays end up biting the weeks that are as holidays. So I think 2 weeks is a good one. In these 2 weeks, when your team starts to point their tasks, like, oh, this task, that's amount point. So they start to get a sense of how they size their work. And across the time, you then average those different sprints between 3 and 6. And then your team has, okay, we can deliver 100 points per sprint. Awesome. Next time we plan the sprint, we plan to execute 80 points. The idea is that your team has to have some room to add tasks to the sprint. They cannot have. So the idea is to push more, not less. But you don't start by assign 120. No, you just tell them like, hey, we have more space here, so you have to think about that. You have to do more. So it's a learning process. maybe the problem is the Scrum Guide is too small. Maybe they should, but then you'll be too big, then it's too complex too. But with experience, you get to learn those things, and it's pretty good when you, like our team is a learning process every day, and then every time that there's a new person, there's coming new challenges. But yeah, we're gonna get there. We hope that more people learn, so we don't have to teach everyone in the world how to use Scrum, because there's a bunch of people teaching also. So yeah, the benefits of using a standard or a framework is that you can learn like a computer language or language itself, right? You don't want to put like 5 people to do a project and each one speak a different language. It'll take a while to. Like put the Chinese and English and Italian and German speak. Okay, they'll go doing this. Like just the English guy understood what you asked, by the way.
I think that's the beauty of Scrum, though, that you can test and you can change how you approach it. I actually forgot that at some point we had 1 week sprints were better. And it really didn't work out. It really didn't work out that way. And we just changed it to 2 week sprint. Bad. Yeah, that's great. And what you said first, that everybody owns the process and everybody owns what's being done. That's why it works so well for product companies, right? Because the right way of, at least that's what they say, right? The experts say the right way of creating products is like getting everybody involved. So you don't go the waterfall and you plan and then you have design and then you, at the end of it, you get to the developers and say, do it. No, you get everybody involved in that and you do that. Yeah.
It's much easier. I have no more beer.
Me neither, man. Me neither. That was a great conversation, though. Really appreciate your insights on Scrum. And please, everybody listening to us, let us know what you think. Do you use Scrum in your company? How long are your sprints? We'd love to hear from you, and maybe you can come and join us in one of the episodes as well. So please let us know. Leave comments. Thank you so much, Joe. That was great. Shall we do that next week again? What do you say?
Definitely, Rodrigo. Thank you, Rodrigo, so much for hosting us today. And guys, thank you for listening to us. Hope you see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.